Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar on kickstarting your FP&A career. So, why is FP&A becoming so important? Why are CFOs interested in FP&A? Why more and more CFOs are coming from FP&A background? We'll try and address all of these questions. First of all, thank you for your trust. You've taken out your valuable 60 minutes to spend with us today on a Sunday morning to learn about FP&A. So thank you for your trust. Pat yourselves on the back for taking action. You see, there is a statistic, there's a Harvard study that says less than 3% of the people take active action to develop their careers. And no wonder less than 3% of the people are leading the world's organizations. The very fact that you have taken out your serious 60 minutes to spend time with us here to learn about FP&A and FP&A career, that tells a lot. So pat yourselves on the back for taking that action. What are we going to cover today? Here's a quick roadmap. We'll start by understanding what is FP&A, some basic, some basics about FP&A, what FP&A is, what are some of the misconceptions about FP&A. Is it only budgeting, forecasting? We'll try and address all of these things in what is FP&A and how does a typical FP&A month look like? This will give you a quick overview of the life of an FP&A professional. What does he do in week 1, 2, 3, and 4? And then I'll give you a quick career framework. If at all you want to start your careers in FP&A, I'll give you a quick framework as to how you can approach it and take a quick control of your FP&A role as well. And then finally, we'll also talk about certification programs and how they can help you enhance your capabilities in FP&A and increase your chances of working in FP&A. Cool. All in all, an exciting 60 minutes. So get rid of all the distractions and let's dive into it. Before we begin, a little bit about us. My name is Dhawal Parvatikar. I'm a qualified chartered accountant. Over the last 16 years, I have worked in various industries as a CFO in India and in the Middle East. I worked with industries like oil and gas, software, advertising and marketing, and commodity trading. I'm now the co-founder and the lead architect of the CGFPA program at FP&A Professionals Institute. We'll talk about that in a while. I've also mentored thousands of chartered accountants and finance professionals. Over the last 5 years, I've been an active online instructor and trained more than 5,000 professionals on various topics like FP&A, business partnering, data storytelling, CFO coaching, and much more. I've also had the privilege of being part of more than 10 CFO events and build a community of more than 200 CFOs in the Middle East. I've gone in as a speaker, a moderator, a panelist, a keynote speaker in the last 10, 12 events that I've attended. And it's been a privilege to talk to these 200 top CFOs in the Middle East. My partner, Asif, Masani, he's my co-founder. He's also a chartered accountant, comes with 15 plus years of experience across sectors like banking, pharma, and edtech. He's a renowned author with 2 books, From Accounting to FP&A and All About FP&A. He is also a regular contributor on FP&A on various platforms, including LinkedIn, FP&A Trends, Finance Alliance, and much more. He's the co-founder along with me at FP&A Professionals Institute. Over the last 12 months, Asif has also had the privilege to interview and learn from the best FP&A professionals across the globe by bringing them on the podcast, collaborating with them to write certain articles, do workshops, include their excerpts in the books, and much more. FPI as an institute, we are about close to 2 years old. We have introduced multiple courses. We have trained almost 5,000 students so far. And our signature CGFPA program, the Certified Global FP&A program, is now entering its 6th cohort. Overall, we have trained about 5,000 professionals on various courses that are available on our platform, truly specializing in FP&A. Great, so that's a little bit about us. So why bother learning FP&A, right? So why financial planning and analysis is becoming important. So let me give you 2 different perspectives. From a CFO's perspective, there are CFO surveys that tell us that 8 out of 10 CFOs say it is generally difficult to find the right FP&A talent. I told you I run a community of CFOs. Increasingly, CFOs tell me that I'm not able to find the right analysis talent or I'm not able to find the right kind of a business partner. So I keep hearing this a lot from CFOs, which means there's huge demand for somebody who can analyze things, do data storytelling, and partner with the business. These are the core skill sets of FP&A roles. From your career perspective, there are umpteen number of salary surveys that will tell you, and these are by reputed institutes and by reputed recruitment agencies across the globe, where they'll tell you that on an average, FP&A roles command at least 15 to 30% more salaries than regular finance and accounting roles. And it's a no-brainer. You can go to glassdoor.com, Michael Page, Robert Half, Corn Ferry, or any of these popular recruitment agency sites and just download the salary survey. It's a free survey. And you will notice that FP&A roles are earning anywhere between 15 to 30% more from a salary standpoint. Not only that, a recent World Economic Forum survey suggests that accounting and bookkeeping is one of the top 10 declining jobs, fastest declining jobs on earth, which means that the AI and the automation revolution will hit rule-based stuff first, which means accounting, which is largely rule-based, will get automated. And then you're left with analysis, decision support, and business partnering. That is where FP&A comes into play. So I hope that is interesting enough for you to stay throughout the webinar and learn more about it. So where does FP&A fit into the organization? Now, if you can imagine a typical CFO's office, there are multiple functions reporting into the CFO's office, right? And each of these each of these functions have a certain specific duty. For example, the financial reporting and the compliance team is responsible for preparing and publishing financial statements, getting the statutory audit done, internal audit done, SOX audit done. The tax team is responsible for all the tax filings and compliances. Treasury team is responsible for maintaining the banking relationships, making sure that there is enough cash in the business, working capital management, credit policies. All of these is directed by the treasury team. This way, amidst all this chaos, somebody needs to keep an eye on the performance of the business. Somebody needs to tell the CFO and the senior business leaders in the company, how are we performing? Are we charging the right price for our products? What kind of margins are we making? Is it enough to cover our costs? What happens if there is a downfall, or what happens if there is a decline in price of 5%? How does it impact profitability? And all of these different kind of performance management questions is answered by FP&A teams. The main role of FP&A is to provide regular, timely and accurate insights to the CFO and other senior business leaders in the company so that they can take informed financial decisions. That is the main role of FP&A. That is also why FP&A enjoys this unique position of sitting very close to the CFO's office. FP&A works like a right hand for the CFO and other senior business leaders in the company. In fact, yesterday I had a very interesting conversation with a billion-dollar company CEO, and he told me that for me, sometimes I skip the CFO and directly go to the FP&A guy because I like data, and he's a very detail-oriented and data-oriented CEO. And he says, when I need strategy, I'll go to the CFO. But when I need some data, I directly go to the FP&A head. I skip that level. And I have this kind of a understanding with the CFO, which is nice, which means that FP&A has that increasing importance to be the custodian of the right kind of data that is published for all the decision makers in the company. Not only the CEO, could be the CFO, business unit head, HR head, marketing head, whoever it is, right? So that's a little bit about where does FP&A fit into the organization and how is it different from your regular accounting, IFRS compliance kind of roles. So that brings us to the question, what is FP&A, right? Now, if we deconstruct this phrase, financial planning and analysis, into two components, one is financial planning, the other one is financial analysis. Financial planning is the future-looking part of FP&A, where we are talking about the future. We're talking about business plans, rolling forecasts, budgets, upcoming budgets, short-term forecasts, long-range planning. All of these things are part of the future-looking function of FP&A. And then there is financial analysis, which is all about analyzing the ongoing performance of the business. Actual versus budget variance, actual versus forecast variance, current quarter versus previous quarter, preparing management commentaries, publishing the reporting packs, making sure that the decision makers are getting the timely reports so that they can take informed and prudent financial decisions. So this is where FP&A is split between future-looking activities like business plan, budgeting, forecasting. And then comes your financial analysis, which is all about analyzing the ongoing performance of the business. Now, what are some of the main activities involved in FP&A? Now, I'm not been keeping well this couple of days. There are three main activities in FP&A. Just give me a moment. There are three main activities in FP&A. That is budgeting, forecasting, and management commentaries or management reporting. Budgeting is a one-time activity carried out just before the start of the financial year, where you're trying to prepare your estimated P&L or your revenue projections or your cost projections and planning how does the next financial year look like. Forecasting is all about analyzing the ongoing performance of the business, where you are during the financial year tracking what is the estimated revenue for the balance period of the forecast. For example, if I've done the March actuals, then I will say April to December forecast, which means that is typically called as a 3+9 forecast. So 3 months of actuals and 9 months of forecast. We don't revise the budget. The budget, once it is signed off by the board, it is frozen. We don't change the budget number, but what we keep tracking is the forecast. Because budget is your target. That is what you started at the start of the financial year, or that is what you agreed to achieve as a target at the start of the financial year. But your forecast is actually revealing the current market trends. So that is where you keep updating your forecast either on a monthly or a quarterly basis, depending on how size and complexity of your business. Then comes variance analysis and profitability analysis. Now, these are again two different branches under the management commentaries. To build your management commentaries, to build your management reports, you will do different kind of analysis. If you're telling that the company's profit is $100,000, management is not happy with this $100,000. They always want to dissect and see where this profit is coming from, which are the top performing products, which are the non-performing products. So that is where different kinds of profitability analysis, like product profitability, branch level profitability, SKU level profitability, region level profitability, and number of different kind of profitability analysis are carried out. And then they are included in the management reports. And variance analysis is different comparisons, actual versus budget, actual versus forecast, current quarter versus previous quarter, current month versus previous month, all these different kind of comparisons, and deconstruct the business reasons behind these variances. Okay. Is there a drop in revenue because a competitor came up with some discount policy and hijacked our sales? Yeah. That is something which you will have to understand in terms of the business reasons for the variances and come back with your commentaries. Now, again, largely, no matter what company you go into, small, medium, large, you can group all the activities of FP&A into these three buckets: budgeting, forecasting, and management reporting. But that's not all. FP&A is much more than that. There are different kind of analysis that the company might expect you to do, but we are just covering the popular ones here in order for you to kind of just get an idea of what happens in FP&A roles. Okay, now what are some of the key traits which are important for an FP&A professional to be successful? Now, there could be again dozens of traits, but I'm not going to spend too much time on this. I'll quickly cover four essential things that you need for you to be successful in FP&A. First is business acumen, which means it is your ability to think beyond spreadsheets, think like a businessman. And I'll give you an example for this. I was working with a large global advertising company, and we were going to pitch Facebook for their advertising mandate in India. And I worked out the pricing, I worked out the contract as per the requirements in the requirements of the scope that Facebook had given us. And then I noticed that our margins are in the range of just 5 to 7%, where on an average, we were making about 20% margin on other clients. So I went back to the business head and said that, boss, I think we need to increase our prices because we are only making about 5 to 7% margins in this particular project. He said, Dhawal, you're thinking like an accountant, or you're thinking from a purely finance guy. Okay. But think about this. The moment Facebook comes on your client roster and you start telling other clients that Facebook, we're doing India marketing mandate for Facebook, do you know how many doors it will open with other technology companies in India, right? Now, this is how a businessman is thinking. He's actually not looking at profits for Facebook. It might probably be less than 2% of our total revenue. But that mandate might open a lot of doors. Now, that is how a businessman thinks, right? So you need to think from angles which are beyond finance, which are beyond your spreadsheets. That's just an example of a business acumen. Analytical skills. Okay. Now, analytical skills is your ability to correlate different sets of numbers, bring meaningful interpretations out of it. Now, let me give you an example. Now, let's say if I tell you that the company's marketing budget is $5 million. Now, the standalone number of $5 million will not tell you any story. But now let me add some context to it. Now, I'm telling you that this $5 million forms 5% of your sales, which means $100 million is your sales and $5 million is the marketing spend that you have incurred. Okay. Now, this is giving you some information, but still it is unable to kind of give you some insight or interpret. Okay. Now, let me give you some more information. Now, I'm comparing this 5% marketing budget number and I'm comparing with the last 3 years average. The last 3 years average marketing spends have been 3% of sales. Now you have a context. Now you have done your analysis. Now you have done your homework. Now you go to the marketing director and ask certain questions that, hey boss, last 3 years average has been 3% of sales. Now this year we are spending 5% of sales on marketing. That is driving our overall operating margin by 2%. Is there anything special that we are going to do this year? Can we optimize it and bring it to 3%? Or is there any one-time activity, branding, rebranding activity that we are undertaking? That is why it has increased from 3% to 5%. Okay. What is the reason? So now this analysis has armed you with data or insight to ask the right questions to the marketing team. Now, this is what is analysis. Whenever you see a number, you try and find out trends, patterns, exceptions. If you're able to look at these three things, you will find out some insights. And these insights will empower you with some questions that you can ask for the business teams, which will then help them optimize. The marketing director might say, oh, I didn't know that we are actually spending more than last year. I thought we were under the same budget. Okay, because they are not the custodian of the numbers. You are as an FP&A professional. It's your duty to tell them what is the kind of trend, what is the kind of right insight. Okay, that's your analytical skill. Then establishing cross-functional relationships. You will be required to collect a lot of data from various business functions, and then you will be required to provide insights to various cross-functional teams. So many times I've collaborated with HR, I've collaborated with business development, tax teams, legal teams, and simply having great relationship with them, okay, has helped me navigate my portion of the data, my set of data much quicker. And I'll give you an example. There was a central legal team and we had 18 subsidiaries, and there was a central legal team sitting which is catering to all these 18 subsidiaries. Now, whenever there was a contract, a client contract that needs to be finalized or reviewed, I used to send it to the legal team, and the standard turnaround time was 3 working days. Now, the client will not wait for 3 working days. Sometimes some clients are impatient. They will not wait for 3 working days. Now, every time I made sure that whenever I got an opportunity, I took the legal team out for lunch. Okay, or whenever they were in my building, I made sure that I met them. I had coffee with them. Sent them some Diwali or New Year gifts or something like that. Right. So this simple gesture, 2 or 3 things that I did, always maintained some great relationship with legal teams. And my contract was always turned around within a day. Now this is how relationships will work in your favor, not just with legal team, any team for that matter. Right. Otherwise, the sales team, for example, who's supposed to give you sales estimates for your forecast. Okay. And imagine that they'll say, I'm busy with the client, I'm not able to give you. For 3-4 days, they won't give you any data. And then you're stuck. The CFO will tell you that why are you not unable to build your sales budget or sales forecast? You see, so relationships are extremely important in an FP&A role. It is not your regular behind the laptop desk kind of a job. Yeah. So make sure that you are able to build strong cross-functional relationships. IT and data literacy. A little bit of tools and technology is what every company uses. In 90% of the cases, basic to advanced Excel will do your job. But many companies are now using FP&A tools, and there's no one tool that gives you like 100% guarantee that, okay, if you learn this tool, then I'll get a job. There's nothing like that. So don't try and stick yourself to a tool. Conceptual foundations is what you need. Okay. And every company will use some or the other tool, and you will have to learn that tool at that point in time. Now, let's say you understand the basics of Power BI. But once you know that your company is using Power BI extensively at every step, then it is your duty to go ahead and enroll into an advanced Power BI and learn it. You don't need to be a Power BI expert from day one. Okay. So keep an eye on what kind of tools and technology your company is using. Basic data literacy, statistics, understanding the relationship between different kinds of data. Okay, mean, median, mode, standard deviation, right? Averages, all of these kind of things, trends, patterns. Okay. Basic chart types, your line chart, your bar chart, horizontal bar chart, vertical bar chart. Basic things are required for you to analyze and visualize your data in the right way. That is what I'm talking about, data literacy. Okay. So these 4 skill sets, if you are able to just keep an eye on, you will do well in your FP&A roles. Now, how does a typical FP&A month look like? Okay. I know you might have some questions. We'll take questions in about 15 minutes from now. So let me quickly complete this. How does a typical FP&A month look like? Okay. Now, when I'm talking about the typical FP&A month, I want to kind of give you an idea that this is an average of the best practices that is followed in about 25 companies that we have studied. Okay. It doesn't necessarily mean that every company does this in week 1 or every company does this in week 2. But this is just to give you a broad idea of what happens in week 1 to 4. So how does a typical FP&A month look like? Week 1, when I'm saying week 1, it is typically the calendar week after 30th. Now, let's say we are in September. Let's say after 30th September, the first week of October. What happens? We do something called as a flash report. Now, flash report is your high-level quick summary of the performance of the business for that particular month or a quarter. Okay. If I'm the CEO, CFO, I don't have the patience to wait for you to close your books on workday 5, workday 6, or whatever, and then you will give me your report to tell me what is the performance of the business. So they need a bridge report, a simple report that tells, okay, have you met our target or no? Yes, you can do your detailed variance analysis, dive as deep as possible into GL levels, transaction levels, and tell me later after the 10th working day. But first tell me, have you met our targets or no? Okay. So a high level performance report is what is expected on the very last working day of that particular month. That is what is flash report. Then you do your accounting close. You work closely with your accounting teams to give them your assumptions or any trends that you have seen, any accruals or all of these things. And then the accounting team will actually close the books of accounts. And then you prepare your management reporting pack. which is your detailed analysis, variance analysis, profitability analysis, all of these things. So that now the CEO, CFO, or the business unit lead will go through the detailed report. And then if they have any questions, they'll come back to you. That's what happens typically in week 1. Then we move to week 2. Week 2 is typically all your updating forecast cycles. You will start getting in touch with the business teams. Okay. Again, I'm saying this is the average best practice. In some companies, we closed on workday 1 and workday 2, we submitted our forecast. In some companies that I've worked with, till workday 10, we are actually closing our books. And workday 15 is when you actually submitted the forecast, right? So it doesn't mean exactly you'll be doing the same thing in week 2. Some shift will be there. Okay. But typically, then you spend time on updating the forecast, you spend time with the business teams, understand how the trends are looking like, how does the next 3 months, next 9 months look like, and then update your forecast, submit it to the CFO, CEO, they will review it and then they'll give you a go ahead, and then you upload your forecast in the system. Now, again, in this typical FP&A month, I'm not covering the budgeting activity. A budgeting activity is something which is carried out one time at the start of the financial year. Typically, if you're following a calendar financial year, then this time from September to December is a very busy season for FP&A professionals because they'll be busy with the budgeting exercise. Various versions, version 1, version 1, 2, 3, 17.1, 17.2, whatever, right? So you'll keep doing the budgeting till the end of the financial year. But this is forecast. This is update during the financial year, within the financial year. And how does your next 7, 8 months, 9 months look like? Then comes week 3. Week 3 is typically slightly light for FP&A professionals. You take on ad hoc projects, different kind of profitability analysis, automations, right? Assess risk and opportunities, different kind of analysis, ad hoc analysis that you might do, right? Strategy, all of these things are typically done in week 3, where you have some time to work on value addition items. And then week 4, again, the preparation for the closing starts. Okay. Make sure that your accounting teams are doing your correct accruals, revenue accruals, that you get in touch with your sales teams, make sure that or your cost management teams, and make sure that they are armed with all the right kind of data for them to close the books of accounts. This will enable you to prepare your flash report and submit it to the management as soon as possible, right? So the preparation for books closure and flash report starts in week 4. Now, these are again some items in FP&A. I'm not saying these are the only items that is done by FP&A teams, but this gives you a quick idea of how does your month look like. When I talk to people, what is FP&A? There's a budgeting forecasting. Can we keep doing budgeting for the whole year? Can we keep doing forecasting for the whole year? No, there'll be different kind of analysis that you will be doing. Pricing analysis, margin analysis, feasibility studies, supporting the business teams with pricing, right? N number of different kind of activities. Combination of business, finance, and FP&A. That's what you will actually be working on. Okay. I hope this gives you some idea of what FP&A roles look like. Okay. Now here's a quick discussion, and I want you to type your responses in the chat box. Okay. Here's a scenario for you. You have just joined as an FP&A manager in a new company 2 days ago. What are your thoughts on how will you approach your job, and what steps will you take to understand your FP&A role better? Okay, I'm looking for some responses in the chat box. Take 30 seconds, go by your instinct. Don't go ChatGPT this. Go by your instinct and just type your responses in the chat box. I'll give you 30 seconds to think, and then I want to see some responses in the chat box. Come on, some responses in the chat box. Don't overthink this. Just go by your instinct. What will you do? It's your first couple of days, first 1 week. What will you do in your FP&A role? Okay, I see some responses in the chat box. Analyze previous data and reports. Understand the business model, and the company's past performance, previous budgets, previous forecasts. Okay. All these are great responses. Now, definitely you will be doing all of these things, but let me give you a quick framework that will help you take quick control of your role. And I normally call it FP&A success mantra. So when you join or take on a new FP&A role in a new company, you need to focus on 3 things. One is organization structure and where you are fitting into this organization structure. That will tell you the soft power that you have in your role. And then comes your stakeholders. Who are your top 5 people who are going to influence your work? And then how do you start building relationships with them? And what are their requirements? And then comes your industry specific KPIs. Every industry will be tracking certain different kind of key performance indicators. That is what you will be working on in your management reports. So these are the 3 things that you will need to keep an eye on. Now let's spend a couple of minutes on understanding each of these. When it comes to organization structure, there are 4 possibilities. One is you could be in a regional role. FP&A manager North, South, FP&A manager APAC, FP&A manager EMEA, FP&A manager, North America, whatever, right? So you could be responsible for FP&A of your region. Then you could be part of a strategic business unit, SBU. Yeah. You are FP&A manager in that particular business unit. Like for example, when I was working with a large oil and gas company, I was FP&A manager, industrial and commercial fuels, right? So that's how you are responsible for the FP&A of your own respective business unit. Then comes a global shared services kind of a setup, or center of excellence, or global capability center, whatever you want to call it. Okay. Here, typically American and European companies have started outsourcing their FP&A functions or finance and accounting functions to more cost-effective economies like India, Philippines, right, where they can find certain talent at much more cost-effective methods. In this case, you could be a FP&A manager sitting in the US, where your team of FP&A analysts is sitting in Mumbai in some global shared services center. Or alternatively, you could be an FP&A manager or analyst sitting in Mumbai, and you are actually supporting a stakeholder internationally who's sitting wherever across the globe. And that is part of a global shared services kind of a setup. Then you could be in a project-based or a client-based setup. Now imagine a large architecture firm or an interior design firm or a large construction company. They operate from project to project. They want to understand the performance of that particular project. That is where you could be in a project finance or project FP&A kind of a setup. And then you could be in a client kind of a setup. Accenture, for example, has a role called client financial analyst or a client financial manager. Many times you're servicing your clients, but those could be multiple projects, large clients, complex revenue recognition, complex client profitability analysis. That is where you need somebody responsible to take care of the entire client related financial relationship. That could be your FP&A role as well. For example, when I was working with a large global advertising company, we had a dedicated CFO and a finance team taking care of just one client, that was Bank of Switzerland, which happened to be one of our largest clients. Probably globally, it formed 7-8% of our revenue. It had a dedicated CFO. Projects were running across the globe, and this CFO and his team was only coordinating for this particular client. It was that large a client, right? So client level FP&A could also be a possibility. Now, depending on your structure and where you fit into the organization, you might not have a full visibility of the P&L like a CFO. That's okay. Even partially, if you are able to contribute to certain elements of performance management, that is still FP&A. You don't need to have a CFO kind of a visibility in every role. You will get that eventually when you become a senior. Then comes your stakeholders. Okay. You will be collecting a lot of inputs and providing insights to various teams, right? HR, sales, business development, production, supply chain, different kind of branches, business units, right? Make sure that you build strong relationships with these stakeholders. Understanding the true requirements. Many times we're sending certain 8, 10 reports, long, big Excel sheets to these stakeholders, and they're not even opening and looking at it. So try and reverse engineer your performance reports. Ask a sales head, hey, how can I make your life easier? How can I give you a one pager which will help you take some key decisions? Or what kind of reports would you like to see? Some stakeholders will be detail oriented. They will say, give me all the details, give me big Excel sheets. I can digest that. Some stakeholders like precision. Some stakeholders like brevity, where you give them a one pager report with key insights, typically in a color coding thing. Then you can tell them that, okay, if you see something in red, then you pay attention. If you see something in green or amber, it's okay if you ignore it, right? They are not detail-oriented stakeholders. So you'll have to understand the type of your stakeholder and then start building your financial reports. Key performance indicators, right? In the interest of time, let me just quickly cover this. Every company tracks different kind of KPIs, right? For example, an oil and gas refining company tracks something called as a gross refining margin, which is simply your selling price minus the cost of crude oil. That's your gross refining margin. Then your gross margin is your sales minus your cost of goods sold. Then your gross margin minus your discounts is your net margin, right? So this way, oil and gas industry is tracking some different KPIs. A software industry is a people-oriented business. There, your biggest costs are people. Typically, 45 to 50% of the sales goes into people cost. For example, if you're doing $100 of sales, you're actually spending $45 to $50 on your people. So that's where compensation ratio, revenue per headcount, cost per headcount, these are some of the key software services company would track. Then a SaaS company or software as a service company or a software as a subscription kind of a company, subscription-based businesses, they track ARR, annual recurring revenue, monthly recurring revenue, cost of customer acquisition, churn rate, how many members are actually quitting or how many new members are getting added, what is the net churn rate or what is the net new members added. All these kind of KPIs are tracked by SaaS companies. Okay. So depending on what kind of a company you're joining, understand their top 10 KPIs. Today you have Google ChatGPT to ask this question. If you're joining, let's say, a men's shaving products company, you can ask what are the top 10 KPIs this company would track and then prepare accordingly for your interview. Okay. Then let me give you a quick framework to build your FP&A, especially if you're new to FP&A, you want to start your career in FP&A. Here's a quick framework. I compare it with building a house, right? Or a house analogy, where everything starts with strong foundations, your conceptual understanding. If in an interview, somebody asks you, tell me what is the process of rolling forecast, and you're doing guesswork, the interviewer will understand in 30 seconds that you're bluffing and you don't know anything about rolling forecast. So please focus on conceptual understanding as your foundations. Tool is the secondary thing. Tool is only an aid. So people ask me, if I learn Power BI, will I get an FP&A job? No, right? You need conceptual understanding and there's no substitute for it. On top of you need to have basic understanding of budgeting, forecasting, management reports, margins, right? Top-down approach, bottom-up approach, right? Pricing, variance analysis, scenario planning, trend analysis, sensitivity analysis. These are your conceptual understanding. Tools will not teach you this. Tools are only an aid to execute this. Then on top of your conceptual understanding, you need the three pillars. That is your soft skills, your communication, because you will be interacting with various cross-functional stakeholders. Then your experience. Learn to blend your experience, industry experience with your FP&A roles. As and when you get senior, you will be respected for your industry understanding, your business acumen. That is where you start getting deep into understanding certain industries and sectors, and they'll help you land your CFO role or a FP&A head role later. Then comes your tools. Which tool the company is using? Are they using a planning tool? Are they using Power BI, Tableau, whatever might be the case? Start learning those tools, all those tools which your company is extensively using. Don't go for a tool formula. Somebody is learning Power BI, Tableau. You are also started investing 100 hours to learn Power BI, Tableau, and your company is not even using Power BI. They are using some other FP&A tool. So don't waste your time. Just learn some basics. Spend about 8 to 10 hours learning the basics of Power BI, Tableau. That's good enough. And once you notice that your company is extensively using it, then you can go ahead and learn those tools. Then you can invest in a 100-hour diploma to learn a tool. That's fine. And on top of this, you need to keep continuously improving. And at mid-senior levels, don't think that you'll be working in FP&A for 30, 40 years, right? You will work in FP&A for 4 or 5 years, then get bored. Then you will look at some other leadership role or a time for becoming a team leader, manager, VP, whatever. So learn leadership skills as well. Learn adaptability. Learn to understand what the business needs and then keep adapting yourself. Okay. So this is how you, if in a career was a house, you would start with the foundations, which is your conceptual understanding, the three pillars, soft skills, experience, tools, and top it up with your leadership skills, continuous improvements, and adaptability. Okay. I hope this gives you some framework about your careers. Okay. Now that you have understood some things about FP&A, both from a CFO's perspective as to why it is important, both from a career perspective as to how it can really help you excel in your careers, you realize how amazing it would be to grab certain opportunities in FP&A, which are out there. Yeah. So we have spoken to hundreds of CFOs, and what we have deconstructed is that there are 5 core skill sets that CFOs are looking for in their finance teams. What are those 5 core skill sets? First is core FP&A concepts: budgeting, forecasting, management reporting, variance analysis, pricing, all of these things. Then comes financial modeling. Financial modeling specific to FP&A, right? Your revenue models, your cost models, your business model canvas, right? Sensitivity analysis, trend analysis. This has nothing to do with investment banking. This has nothing to do with valuations. This has nothing to do with leverage buyouts. This is pure FP&A related financial modeling. Then comes data storytelling. I told you, you will be interacting with business teams. They don't understand 10,000 lines of Excel sheets like you do. That is where it is your ability to translate it into a smart one-pager visual so that you can help the business teams take some decisions. Business partnering, business acumen, and a combination of building strong cross-functional relationships so that you can influence the business teams to take certain decisions. That is business partnering. And of course, leveraging the technological and developments that are happening in your field so that you can be far more efficient and far more capable of executing certain stuff. Okay, so these are the 5 core skill sets. Keeping these 5 skill sets in mind, what we have done at FPI is we have developed our own course, our own program. It's called the Certified Global FP&A Professional Program. Now, this is a 6-month exhaustive course. It's a global certification built and taught directly by CFOs and FP&A leaders and not by university professors. It has 10 comprehensive modules, which we'll talk about it in a while. Everything through real life like experiential sessions and data cases. You will be part of a global alumni network. CGFP program has been taken by students from more than 25 different countries. You will get personalized sessions with a career coach. You will get placement support in the sense that we'll review your resume, your LinkedIn profile, we'll strengthen your profile, right? We have our own initiative, which is called fpnajobs.com, where we're trying to build a lot of relationships with recruiters and large companies to help them understand the importance of CGFP and how qualified certified students can help them. Monthly Q&A sessions where you can ask questions to the faculty directly. Access to external speaker sessions, top FP&A leaders across the globe, tool providers, coaches, top CFO coaches, they all come to FPI for guest sessions. And we have been conducting 1 to 2 guest sessions every month. And you'll get access to all of these things once you are an alumni of FP&A professional institute. Then all of this happens through seamless online access to our best-in-class LMS. Live courses are conducted through Zoom. Okay, we have our own portal where all the resources and everything will be hosted. Everything will be taken care of through our relationship managers. Okay. Now, what is the curriculum in the CGFPA program? It has 10 exhaustive modules. I'll quickly spend some time on this. Budgeting and forecasting. Again, different methods of budgeting, different sectors, different industry examples. Forecasting, rolling forecast, driver-based planning, traditional forecast, rolling forecast differences. All of these things are covered through practical examples and real-life cases. AI for Finance and AI, which is our latest module, where we have covered all the use cases of ChatGPT, Copilot, Manus, and other tools that are available out there. Okay. Management reporting, different types of management reports, best practices in management reporting, monthly, quarterly reports, performance management frameworks, like balance scorecard, KPIs, OKRs. All of these things are covered through real life examples in management reports. Financial modeling, we already spoke about financial modeling specific to FP&A, your revenue models, your cost models, trend analysis, sensitivity analysis, best practices in financial modeling specific to FP&A are covered in this module. Then comes data analytics. You will be dealing with large chunks of data in your roles, which will be financial data or operational data. So you need to know your way to navigate through this data. That's where we are covering basics of Power BI, Power Query, SQL. At least we take you to a level where you're comfortable using these tools. We don't claim to make you an expert in these tools, but at least we'll take you to a level where you are comfortable using these tools in your day-to-day FP&A roles. Financial analysis. See, financial analysis is not just restricted to ratio analysis. Financial analysis as to how a CFO is evaluating a company from an internal standpoint. Margin analysis, horizontal analysis, vertical analysis, different kind of profitability analysis. All of these things are part of your financial analysis module. Then comes storytelling and presentations. I've already told you how you need to translate your large Excel sheets into a meaningful story for a business person to interpret it. Strategy, as in when you start becoming senior, your senior management will start talking strategic language. And at that point in time, you will feel uncomfortable. You will not know what are these frameworks. That's why we are trying to help you understand all the popular strategic frameworks and their correlationship with the FP&A analysis in the strategy module. Then comes your business partnering, your business acumen, ways to build strong cross-functional relationships. We will show you 7 to 8 practical case studies of how we in our careers collaborated with HR teams, business development teams, with a CEO, with a certain IT teams to come up with certain analysis. We'll share with you some practical examples from our careers. So all in all, 10 solid modules, everything you need for a successful FP&A role. Don't just think about this as a course or a certification that you will have. This is 20 years of our experience compressed into a 6-month program. Yeah, that's what a CGFPA program. Now, what is the eligibility for CGFPA? You need to have a bachelor's degree or a global equivalent in finance, accounting, or business. Alternatively, you may have your qualifications like CA, CPA, CMA, ACCA, whatever equivalent qualifications of your respective country. With this, you will be eligible for the CGFPA program. How will you get the CGFPA certificate? There are 2 conditions. One is you need to attend 50% of the classes live. We just meet every Saturday for 2 hours. That's it. Okay. For 6 months. And then you need to attend at least 50% of the classes live. And then submit your assignment or capstone, which will be actually a budget presentation for a CFO. All the guidance and everything will be given on this capstone. Don't worry about it. Once you submit this, you will be eligible for the final examination. The final examination is a proctored examination, 50 questions, 100 marks, 2 hours, multiple choice questions examination. Once you complete that examination, you will get the CGFP certificate from FP&A Professionals Institute. We are an independent body. We are not connected with any other accounting bodies in the world. We are also accredited and recognized by CPD UK. So you can claim your continuing credits in your respective accounting qualifications as well. Okay. Now, the ROI for a valuable program like this that can fast track your journey towards your CFO roles. The ROI, I leave it to your imagination. The course fee investment in this program is $1,695. You also have an option to pay it over 5 months. The duration will be for 6 months, where every Saturday we will meet live for 2 hours from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. IST. That's the current cohort. Then totally about 3 to 4 hours of your own time commitment is required, where you will be working on some pre-reading and case studies for about 60 to 90 minutes during your week, and then come to the classroom for a 2-hour session where we'll be focusing only on the practical stuff. The next start date is actually 27th of September. This was the orientation date. 27th of September, the last Saturday of this month, is when the next cohort is starting. Okay. The date that you need to remember is 15 September 2025, when the extended date for final applications is closing. Okay. Last couple of seats are left for the CGFPA program, which is starting on September 27th. Make sure that if you are interested, you are filling the applications for the CGFPA program as soon as possible. I'll share the application link in a moment in the chat box. But the date that you need to remember is 15 September 2025. Again, don't just take our word for it. There have been tons and tons of testimonials. You can reach out to any of our alumni. Happy to share their numbers as well. You can reach out to them and understand how CGFPA program has been important for them. Many of them have been able to crack FP&A roles. Many of them have been able to implement a lot of frameworks that we have taught in their work practically, right? So you can reach out to any of our alumni and they'll tell you about the CPA program. Yes, just reiterating the date, tomorrow, that's 15th of September, that's the last day when the applications or the extended application deadline is closing for the CGFPA program. Make sure that you're filling in the applications. The CGFPA is an exhaustive program if you're serious about it. But however, if you're still at a stage where you're exploring that whether FP&A is for you or no, we have the FP&A Masterclass program, which is a beginner to intermediate level program that's available in a recorded version on our portal, which is just $97. You can also use the coupon code early10 for availing a 10% discount because you're present in this webinar. So you can start with this. It also gives you access to courses like Resume Blueprint, Interview Secrets, and then mastermind recording calls so that you understand and prepare for your interviews as well. So Masterclass will do the job in terms of preparing you for interviews, right? It also has some practical cases, examples covered. But if you are serious about FP&A, making a career in FP&A, and you're looking for an advanced program, then CGFPA is the right program for you. But however, if you're a beginner, FP&A Masterclass is a will do a good enough job for you to at least take you to your interview level and maybe even crack your first FP&A role. But once you want to execute your FP&A role, once you are in your FP&A role, then CGFPA is the only thing that will help you kind of master the FP&A skill sets that you're looking for. Okay, that's what I had to share.